If you're over 50, let me ask you a blunt question as your doctor. If you accidentally sat down on the floor right now, could you get back up without using your hands? If the honest answer is no, or I'm not sure, I want you to stay with me. I've spent years in clinics watching people slide from just a little stiff at 55 to needing help with basic things at 70 to being afraid of the floor at 80. And I've also seen something completely different in certain patients and in certain cultures. In Japan, there are communities where it's normal to see people in their 80s and 90s sitting on the floor comfortably, walking with a relaxed, steady gait, squatting down to tend a garden, and getting back up without drama. Not superhuman, not gym freaks, just everyday elders whose bodies are still online. Today, I'm not going to sell you a supplement, a smartwatch, or a gym membership. Instead, I want to walk you through 6 simple movements, inspired by what Japanese elders do every day, that I personally love as a physician. They're not magic, they're not a cure for everything. But if you're over 50 and you practice these consistently, you are doing some of the most powerful, low-tech medicine we know for keeping your joints moving, maintaining your balance, protecting your brain, and staying independent for as long as possible. Let's break them down, one by one, with real stories and a doctor's perspective. We often talk about aging like rust. Everything just wears out. That's only half the story. The other half is disuse. Joints that are never moved through their full range stiffen. Muscles that aren't challenged shrink. Balance systems that aren't stimulated become dull. The brain circuits for coordination, reaction time, and spatial awareness quietly power down. Japanese daily movement culture pokes all of these systems gently but constantly. Instead of occasional intense workouts, they sprinkle small, frequent movements into life. Short morning routines. Standing on one leg while doing something else. Sitting on the floor instead of collapsing into a couch. Walking calmly instead of rushing or barely moving. Let's go through the 6 key movement habits and why, medically, they make so much sense. Movement 1. Slow, mindful walking, training your nervous system, not your ego. In many Western countries, walking is treated like a calorie-burning contest. 10.000 steps, or you failed. Walk faster, sweat more. Japanese elders often practice a very different style of walking, sometimes called a slow, mindful walk. Think of it as walking meditation meets physical therapy. What it looks like. You walk at half your usual pace. No rushing, no stomping. Each step rolls slowly from heel right pointing arrow, midfoot right pointing arrow, toes. Breathing is deliberate. For example, inhale for 2 steps, pause for 2, exhale for 4. From a medical standpoint, several things happen here. 1. You wake up the small stabilizer muscles in the feet, ankles, and hips. Fast walking can skip over these. Slow walking forces them to participate. 2. You send better quality information to your brain. The soles of your feet are full of sensors. Slow walking gives your brain rich feedback about pressure, weight shift, and ground texture. That helps recalibrate your balance system. 3. You calm your autonomic nervous system. The controlled breathing paired with gentle movement helps shift the body away from fight or flight and into a more relaxed rest and digest state. That can modestly help with blood pressure and mental clarity. I once had a 62-year-old patient. I'll call him Mr. H. He proudly told me, "Doctor, I walk 8.000 to 10.000 steps every day." Yet he complained of frequent near falls, tight calves, numb toes, and never feeling truly relaxed. When I watched him walk, it made sense. He was rushing, short steps, hard heel strike, eyes glued to his phone. We shifted his routine. 10 to 15 minutes of slow walking each morning, without his phone. Barefoot or in thin-soled shoes on grass or firm soil when possible. Focusing on how each foot met the ground and on steady breathing. 3 weeks later he said, "I don't know why, but I feel more in my body. And I haven't stumbled once this week. The total steps didn't change much. But the quality of the steps changed his nervous system. How you can start, safely. Choose 5 to 10 minutes once or twice a day. Walk on a safe, flat surface. If your balance is poor, stay near a wall or rail. Focus on quiet steps and a gentle breath rhythm. This is not a race. It's a tune-up for your body and brain. Movement 2. A short morning mobility ritual, oil, for your joints. In Japan, there's a long tradition of simple morning routines that involve gentle, continuous movements, arm circles, side bends, trunk rotations, light knee lifts. From a doctor's perspective, this kind of 3 to 5 minute mobility sequence is far more powerful than it looks. After 50, the synovial fluid in your joints, the natural lubricant, moves better when the joint is moved. If you wake up and sit in a chair for hours, your joints stay cold and stiff. A brief full body routine in the morning. O warms up the muscles. O spreads synovial fluid over cartilage surfaces. O gently flushes stiffness out of the spine, hips, shoulders. Ms. L. 68, used to dread getting out of bed. Her first 10 to 15 steps each morning felt like her knees and lower back were 90 years old. X-rays showed age-appropriate changes, not catastrophic arthritis. Her main issue was stiffness and deconditioning. We introduced a 3-minute bedside routine. Shoulder rolls. Gentle trunk rotations. Side bends. Slow marching in place while holding the back of a chair. She called it her defrost cycle. After a month she said, "The pain isn't gone, but it no longer scares me. I warm up faster. I don't feel like an old machine starting in winter." That is exactly what these short routines are for. Not to make you super flexible, but to prepare the joints and nervous system for the day. How you can start. Right after you wake up. Before checking your phone, stand by your bed or a sturdy chair. Spend just 3 to 5 minutes gently moving. O circles with your arms. O side bends. O twists of the upper body. O light marching in place. Move within a comfortable range. No forcing, no bouncing, no sharp pain. Think of this as brushing your teeth, but for your joints. Movement 3. The deep resting squat, reclaiming a lost posture. In many traditional cultures, people rest in a deep squat. Heels on the ground. Hips close to the floor. Back relatively straight. In modern chair-based lifestyles, this posture almost disappears after childhood. From a biomechanical standpoint, a comfortable squat is like a full checkup for your lower body. Deep flexion in hips and knees. Full dorsiflexion at the ankles. Stretching of the lower back. Engagement of the pelvic floor. When patients can't get anywhere near this position, it usually reflects shortened calf muscles, stiff hips, weak glutes, deconditioned muscles around the knees. All of these are strongly linked to mobility loss with age. I remember a 72-year-old retired teacher, Mrs. S., an avid gardener. Her biggest fear wasn't death. It was, the day I can't crouch to tend my plants. She hadn't been able to squat for years. We didn't try to force her into a deep squat right away. Instead, we worked through supported half squats while holding a countertop. Gradually increasing range of motion. Ankle mobility drills. Sitting on a low stool and standing up repeatedly. After several months, she could rest in a modified deep squat. Heels slightly elevated on a rolled towel. Hands lightly touching a stool for balance. She told me, "It's not the exact squat I did at 20, but it's enough to let me do what I love." That's the key. Not a perfect photo, but functional capacity. How you can start, without hurting your knees. Stand near a wall, countertop, or sturdy chair. Slowly bend your hips and knees, keeping most of your weight on your heels. Go only as low as you can without pain. Hold for 10 to 20 seconds. Come back up slowly. Repeat 3 to 5 times. Over weeks and months, you might gain a few more degrees of bend. If you already have significant knee arthritis or past injuries, You should absolutely discuss this with your doctor or physiotherapist first. The goal is comfortably increased range, not forcing joints that are structurally compromised. Movement 4. Standing on one leg, balance training for your brain. If I had to pick one quick screening test for patients over 50, standing on one leg would be high on the list. Why? Because this simple act recruits muscles of the feet, ankles, knees, hips, and core. The vestibular system, inner ear. The visual system, proprioception, your sense of joint position. And the brain areas that integrate all of this. When you practice standing on one leg, your body makes constant tiny adjustments. Your nerves and muscles communicate more efficiently. Your brain literally practices not falling. There is growing research showing that poorer balance is associated with higher risk of falls, fractures, and even all-cause mortality. It doesn't mean balance causes longer life by itself, but it's a powerful signal of how well the whole neuromuscular system is functioning. A 59-year-old man, Mr. T, came to clinic for blood pressure. During the exam, I asked him to stand on one leg. He laughed. "Oh, I'm fine. I walk every day." He lifted his foot and lasted about 3 seconds before grabbing the wall. He looked genuinely shocked. We built a simple habit. Stand at the kitchen counter each morning and evening. Lightly hold the counter for safety. Lift one foot a few centimeters. Try to build up to 30 to 60 seconds each side. 3 months later, he could stand a full minute on each leg without touching the counter. More importantly, he stopped tripping over curbs and felt more secure on stairs. How you can start. Stand next to a sturdy surface, a counter, the back of a sofa, or a wall. Lightly place one hand on it. Lift one foot just a little off the ground. Fix your gaze on a point in front of you. Aim for 10 to 20 seconds each side, then slowly increase. If this is too easy, you can hold the counter with just a fingertip. Or eventually try with your eyes closed, only if safe and with support nearby. Never compromise safety. The point is to reduce your risk of falling, not to give you a reason to fall today. Movement 5. Getting down to the floor and back up, the independence test. One thing I've observed across cultures. In societies where people sit on the floor regularly, older adults tend to maintain better hip and knee function. Getting down to the floor and back up is, in my view, one of the most important functional movements of aging. To perform it, you need leg strength, hip and knee mobility, core stability, coordination, and confidence. If we lose the ability, or the confidence, to get up from the floor, many things happen. We avoid playing with grandchildren on the floor. We fear falling because we won't be able to get up. Sometimes people end up calling emergency services for a non-injury fall, simply because they can't rise. Independence erodes quietly. I once treated an 81-year-old woman, Mrs. K, who had a minor fall. No fractures, no head injury. Physically, she was okay. But she stayed on the floor for almost an hour waiting for someone to come home. She simply couldn't get up. She told me in tears. That was the day I stopped trusting my own body. From then on, she avoided walking alone and stopped many activities she loved. The injury wasn't in her bones, it was in her confidence. We worked patiently on half-kneeling positions, using a chair as a stepping stone, practicing a safe roll to side right pointing arrow, push up right pointing arrow, kneel right pointing arrow, stand sequence. After months of practice, she could get off the floor using a chair, not effortlessly, but with control. Her psychological recovery was as important as the physical one. How you can start. If you're safe to do so, and ideally after talking with your doctor, physio. 1. Practice lowering yourself from standing into a half-kneel position while holding a chair. 2. Then push back up to standing. 3. Over time, you can move to sitting on a low stool or cushion on the floor. Then standing back up with support. Always practice on a soft surface, mat, carpet, with sturdy furniture nearby. and ideally with someone else in the house. Remember, this movement is not about looking athletic. It's about ensuring that if life puts you on the floor, you're not trapped there. Movement 6. Towel twists, connecting your core, shoulders, and brain. The last movement is deceptively simple. Hold a towel at shoulder height. Pull gently outward to create tension. Slowly rotate your torso left and right, keeping the hips facing forward. Why is this interesting medically? Because when you do this, the deep stabilizer muscles of your trunk and shoulders have to engage to maintain control. Your spine moves through rotation, which is often neglected. The tension through the hands and towel activates grip and forearm muscles. Your brain coordinates upper and lower body stability. Grip strength, by the way, is increasingly recognized as a strong marker of overall health and function in older adults. Stronger grip often correlates with better outcomes and lower risk of disability. A 65-year-old man with chronic stiffness in his mid-back told me he felt like he had a wooden plank instead of a spine. Heavy twisting exercises made him worse. But when we gave him a gentle towel twist routine for 1 to 2 minutes, twice a day, something changed. He said, "It's like the joint between my shoulders and ribs finally wakes up. I move more naturally when I walk." The key here wasn't intensity. It was frequent, controlled rotation with light resistance. How you can start. Use a towel or light resistance band. Stand with feet hip-width apart, knees slightly soft. Hold the towel with arms at shoulder height, slightly wider than shoulder width. Gently pull outward so the towel is taut. Slowly rotate your chest to one side, hips staying forward. Move within a comfortable range. Hold for 2 to 3 seconds. Come back to center, then rotate to the other side. Start with 1 minute, gradually build to 2 to 3 minutes. Avoid this if you have spinal conditions where rotation is contraindicated. Again, this is where checking with your own doctor matters. Safety principles. From a doctor who wants you to move, not break. Before we wrap up, I want to emphasize a few non-negotiables. 1. Pain is not a badge of honor. Mild stretch or muscular effort is fine. Sharp or worsening joint pain is a red flag. Right-pointing arrow. Stop and reassess. 2. Always have support nearby for balance work. Kitchen counters, sturdy chairs, walls, use them. I care more about you not falling than about pure balance. 3. Progress slowly. You're training your nervous system, joints, and confidence. That takes time. 4. If you have significant arthritis, heart disease, neurological conditions, or recent surgery, please involve your physician. And ideally a physical therapist. Before adding new movements. These 6 movements are tools, not prescriptions carved in stone. They need to be adapted to your body. Japanese elders who practice these kinds of movements don't do them because they're trying to hack death. They do them because they want their years to be livable. Clear-headed enough to hold a conversation. Strong enough to stand up. Stable enough to walk to the market. Mobile enough to sit on the floor with family. You don't need to move to Japan to take advantage of these principles. You don't need perfect genes. You don't need a gym. You need a few minutes a day, a bit of curiosity about your own body, and a decision to stop seeing aging as a passive slide and start seeing it as a skill you can train. If all of this feels like a lot, here's my professional advice. Don't start with all 6. Start with one movement, for 1 minute, every day. For example, Week 1. Stand on one leg at the kitchen counter for 1 minute each side. Once a day. Week 2. Add 3 minutes of morning gentle movements. Week 3. Add 5 minutes of slow, mindful walking. Let these habits grow like a quiet investment account. You won't notice much on day 3. You might notice something on day 30. You'll definitely notice something on day 300. As a doctor, I can't promise you immortality. But I can tell you this. People who keep moving, thoughtfully, regularly, in all the ways we just discussed, almost always age better than those who don't. Not just in tests, but in the things that actually matter. Getting out of a chair. Walking without fear. Bending down to hug a grandchild. Living in your own home longer. If you're over 50, your body is talking to you every day. These 6 movements are one powerful way to answer back.